Good morning. Thank you for joining us. We'll start this press event by statements from Foreign Minister Gideon and the Minister for Foreign Affairs of Denmark, Lars Løkke Rasmussen. Foreign Minister, please.
I welcome in Israel Foreign Minister of Denmark, Lars Rasmussen. Lars is a man and a statesman of a dialogue. We usually have a good dialogue. Doesn't mean we always agree on everything, but it's always good and productive conversation. We decided together to have a joint team to find out cooperation on a humanitarian issue, to see what we can do together, among other things, on the medical evacuation of people from Gaza. And from our side, my Director General, Eden Bartal, will be the POC. With regard to the humanitarian situation as a whole, there is a big change on the ground that we emphasized in our meeting. It's not something that you can find in Western media, but the facts are we were fulfilled all our understandings with the EU on the matter, and more than that, after we also started with the humanitarian corridors policy and airdrops, a huge quantities entered to Gaza Strip, and that was reflected in the decline, the dramatic decline of the prices of products, and therefore the situation today is totally different from what it was a few months ago. The war in Gaza can end tomorrow morning if, with only two simple things: the return of our hostages. We still have 48 hostages that were kidnapped from their homes on October 7th in Gaza Strip, and with Hamas laying down its arms. And I emphasize the second thing, because the second thing also guarantees the future of Gaza and the Palestinians, a different future, released from the oppressive and terrorist regime of Hamas. We will be more than happy to reach to this objective with political means, with diplomatic means, instead of military means. But I never heard someone suggesting, someone who is saying, and in the international community everyone is saying, Hamas shouldn't have a future, a part in the future of Gaza Strip. Hamas should be disarmed. How do you suggest it will happen? Very simple question. Never heard the answer to that. Unfortunately, anti-Semitism in Europe, which is an old disease, expose new face these days, and the new face of anti-Semitism is anti-Israeli. We must acknowledge the fact that the approach towards the Jewish state today in the continent is being we can define it with deep delegitimization and double standards. And I hope that more and more European leaders will say what we can all see. There is an anti-Israeli obsession wave in Europe today. Europe faces challenges, security and strategic challenges. I believe and I think that Europe needs Israel, not less than Israel needs Europe. A constructive dialogue cannot be based on threats and sanctions. We are a proud nation. We are a sovereign state fighting for its existence from its establishment, but intensively during the last 2 years. We are always ready for a dialogue. To be frank, our dialogue with the EU on the humanitarian issue brought a change on July. And a dialogue is always better than other alternatives. I told my friend that those states, like France and the UK, that pushed the so-called recognition in the so-called Palestinian state, had made a tremendous mistake, because you cannot disconnect the issue of statehood, which is one of the final status issues, one of the final status agreement issues. You cannot disconnect statehood from peace, because if you do that, you will make even more harder to get to the peace. A peace agreement in the future can happen only in a bilateral context, as much as everything that the Palestinians achieved until today was only in a bilateral context. Another approach will be a present for Hamas, which is already connecting that to October 7, and this is how Palestinians looked at it. It will not bring us closer to peace or security. It will destabilize the region. It will push Israel also to have unilateral decisions, and that will be a grave mistake. So I urge those responsible states in Europe, including Denmark, to speak with their European friends and with their other friends, not to do this mistake. And we still have time to prevent that.
Thank you. One minister, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Gideon, Minister Saar. Thank you for receiving me. I really also, as you mentioned, appreciate our frank and open discussions, which we have had since my first visit here, where I met you in January, continuously. And I'm pleased to be here in person today, which also underlines the fact that we have strong ties between our two countries, and the ties between Denmark and Israel go back generations. During World War II, ordinary Danish men and women helped thousands of Jews escape to our usual neighbor country, Sweden. And after the war, we strongly supported the formation of the State of Israel. And I consider us, on a personal note, to be friends, but also our two countries. So I'm traveling to Israel once again as a friend, and it is my intention to leave Israel as a friend. But I must also say, and you know that, I'm also a concerned friend, a friend that wants you to change course. We understand, I understand Israel's security concerns. We condemn the horrible terrorist attacks against your country 2 years ago. The most, I mean, we haven't seen such an attack on the Jewish communities since the Holocaust. And I totally subscribe to the fact that radical Islam is a problem of mutual concern, and it goes without saying that we demand that all Israeli hostages in Gaza are released immediately, and we have said that frequently and from day one, also Israel's right to self-defense. But it doesn't change the fact that we are extremely concerned about the humanitarian disaster in Gaza, and that's why I used the opportunity today to repeat our calls for Israel to stop the military offensive in Gaza, to ensure immediate and unhindered humanitarian assistance. And I also expressed our deep concern by the expansion of settlements in the West Bank. And I reiterated Denmark's offer to help assisting with the treatment of patients from Gaza in East Jerusalem or the West Bank. We do not agree on any major breakthrough. You are not open for giving these patients access or to allow them to go from Gaza to the West Bank. Having said that, I'm pleased that we at least agreed that we will now ask a joint team to look into what could be done alternatively, for instance by investments in Gaza. So I don't feel that I leave, Jerusalem empty-handed in that regard. We should explore that, and we should work closely together, because we stand ready with personnel, with money and equipment. We are chairing the European Union this second half of this year. We also discussed it among European Minister of Foreign Affairs in the informal meeting in Copenhagen last week. And of course I'm here in my national capacity, but it's a general concern in Europe. I mean, this humanitarian issue and the patient's treatment. So I hope that we can, work something out which is doable and actually have some real impact. It would, of course, have been much easier if you would allow transport of the patients from Gaza to East Jerusalem, but I can't force you to do that, even though it could save many lives. So I want to thank you for a very open, frank discussion, and we will stay in touch and we will continue this discussion. And we need to see some solid progress on the ground. We must bear in mind all the nuances, and you're absolutely right that the initiative back pre-summer, where the High Representative on behalf of the European countries had talks with you and other colleagues, paved the way for increased humanitarian access to Gaza. But there's still much to be done. So thank you.
Thank you, Foreign Minister. We'll have time for only a few questions. So let's start. Yes, please. Celine?
Yes. My question is for the Danish Foreign Minister, Mr. Saar. The Danish Foreign Minister, should I start again? My question is for Mr. Gideon Saar. The Danish Foreign Minister just said we didn't have a major breakthrough on anything regarding the evacuation of patients. Why won't Israel allow critical patients from Gaza to evacuate to the West Bank or East Jerusalem?
It's a war and we have our security concerns. I can ask why is Copenhagen don't want to get these patients as well. But we agreed to look whether we can do it with some Arab states, and we will work constructively to see whether we have solutions that can be acceptable. We are looking forward to work together on that, and not only on this medical evacuation thing, but anything which is connected to humanitarian situation. We are open to work together with Denmark and with the EU.
Thank you. Yes.
My question
Please
is also
present yourself. Please present yourself.
I'm Tomer from Channel 12 News, Israel. My question is also for the Foreign Minister. What is the Foreign Ministry position on annexation in the West Bank, and as it can take a major diplomatic toll, and what messages has it gotten from friendly countries about that possible step?
מתקיימים דיונים בנושא הזה. We have discussions on this issue with the Prime Minister, and at that stage it will be till there will be a decision. I think I don't have to elaborate. That issue was also discussed between myself and the Secretary Rubio when I was in Washington. But if there will be any news, I'm sure they will be declared.
Thank you. Yes, please. Benjamin?
Hello, Benjamin from TV2 Denmark. For you, Prime Minister, Foreign Minister. The Danish government a few days ago said that they were moving on the question of recognition of a Palestinian state. They don't say that they are recognizing, but they are moving in that direction. What is your reaction to that, and what did you tell the Danish Prime Minister, Foreign Minister, sorry?
Former Prime Minister.
You know, I asked once one of my colleagues, who is now a foreign minister and also was a prime minister, what is really better, to be a prime minister or a foreign minister? He told me, foreign minister, surely. Anyhow, I urge Denmark not to do it, because I think it is totally not constructive. Secretary Rubio told also during the last days, states are not created that way. So the question is why there should be this attempt to unilateral so-called recognition in a virtual state, something that will not change anything on the ground, but it will disconnect, as I said, the issue of peace from the issue of statehood. Statehood is one of the 5 final status issues and final status agreement issues. And you shouldn't give something without the Palestinians will pay the necessary price of a compromise. And of course, as you know, there is also a huge opposition in the Israeli public today for a Palestinian state, which is understood. Today, to establish a Palestinian state will jeopardize our security. This is why we opposed it, and I said it very clearly. But it's legitimate to have a different opinion, like the EU has traditionally. But eventually, this issue should be agreed by the parties themselves. And the only thing I see that this move is bringing, this move that President Macron had initiated, is instability and the push for every player to do unilateral steps. It's not bringing not peace, not security, not stability. So what for? And of course, I distinguish that from the principled position on the matter, which I know is the Danish position always.
Thank you. Yes, please.
Thank you. Hodaya Makorishon as well. So, Minister Saar, I will also ask about, do you support applying sovereignty as a response to the unilateral conference?
I already answered that question.
Okay, so if you can elaborate, I would like that. And Minister Rasmussen, we have recently seen several incidents of harm to Israelis in EU member states. What do you intend to do in order to prevent similar cases? And also, Denmark condemned the legislation in Israel against UNRWA, even though it has been proven that UNRWA was involved in terrorism and holding of hostages. Do you intend to change your policy toward UNRWA and maybe unfunding them? Thank you.
As I already stated in my opening remarks, we consider ourselves close friends to Israel, and we have always stand up for the Jewish community in Denmark, and we continually do so. We just presented, not just presented, but last year we presented a plan against anti-Semitism in our country. And we, are working hard on that. We have to distinguish this from our position on the humanitarian situation in Gaza. This is not easy. It comes with a lot of dilemmas. I, in principle, also agree with the fact that no statehood without peace. But you could also argue there will not be a peace unless you have some kind of vision about a statehood. So I think what we need to do is to work together. I mean, we strongly believe that peace, long-lasting peace in this region must be based on a sovereign Israel and a Palestinian state living peacefully together. And I'm not naive, I know this is extremely difficult, but it's something we should work hard to achieve. We are not ready yet to recognize, but our position is that we cannot allow anyone to have a de facto veto over the Danish position. Our position so far has been that we are ready to recognize when there is a negotiated two-state solution. But looking on the reality on the ground these days, and certain statements from Israeli ministers who, I must guess, speak on behalf of the government. That's at least how we do things in Denmark. If I make public statements, it is the position of the Danish government, unless my prime minister says otherwise. So when we listen to statements from strong statements from Israeli ministers about there will never ever be a Palestinian statehood, if you recognize anything at the end of September, there will be nothing to recognize. Then it goes without saying that we have to take the decision right back to ourselves, so to speak. So that's why we have made it clear that we will not give either Israel or other a veto on the Danish position. It doesn't change the fact that we will never, in reality, recognize a Palestinian state which is ruled by Hamas or any other terrorist organization, and therefore it comes with a lot of preconditions. A disarmed Palestinian state, recognizing Israel, transparency, democracy. You can't run for election if you don't recognize the sovereignty of Israel, etc. That is our position. And I really hope that we, in a foreseeable future, can start working together in achieving this and to make this vision more clear for people in Israel and Palestine and across the world. That is our position. And I can easily have this position being a close friend to Israel and someone who always have stand up for protecting the Jewish community, not only in Denmark, but globally.
I want to add something. Those states that support statehood for the Palestinians now ignores the most important facts that demonstrate that the PA does not deserve, according to its, according to what they do, they don't deserve a state. And I will mainly put three things. First of all, they said they will fight against terror in the Oslo agreements. They have never done that. This is why we are doing that, including in Judea and Samaria. They never done that. If you look into their jails in Ramallah, where you will visit today, you will not find terrorists there. They promised to do that. They promised to take care for security. They never done that. Second, they reward and encourage terrorism by the pay-for-slay doctrine, by paying salaries for terrorists and terrorist families. And they say they will change it, but they never did. They only change how they are doing that, like transferring it from one pocket to the other, but they never disconnected themselves. And by doing that, they never disconnected themselves from the ethos of terror in the Palestinian society. Third thing is the incitement in the kindergartens, in schools, in textbooks. I've just heard a brief about it last Thursday in a meeting we had. It's terrible. And this is already poisoning the minds of the new generation. Without disconnecting from these two huge problems, incitement against Jews and Israel, and terrorism, you cannot build a reliable peace process. But some states ignore that. I'm very happy that Secretary Rubio lately, with two different decisions, put those issues on the table and said very openly, the PA and the PLO are not meeting their obligations on those fundamental issues. And it is really not serious to demand from Israel, speak about a Palestinian state or give them a Palestinian state. By the way, we tried it in a way. When we withdrew totally, dismantled all our settlements, dismantled all our military bases and presence from Gaza Strip, 2005, dismantled even the graves from the cemeteries there, there was no excuse for them. But instead they built a terror kingdom, maybe the hugest terror kingdom on earth, above the ground and under the ground. And no one should ignore this reality on the ground, in Judea and Samaria and in Gaza Strip, demanding from Israel to risk its future and security. We will simply not do that.
Thank you. This press conference is now over. Toda.
Thanks, Gideon.
So we go to Ramallah.
Yeah.